Hey peddlers, welcome back to a brand new video. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at Chinese carbon handlebars that I bought. I'll give you guys my thoughts whether it's safe to ride or if it's not, and the overall quality, is it good quality or is it not? So let's jump right into this video. Now, if you guys are new to my channel, all I ask is you leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you have not. Really helps with me putting out content. Now we're talking about these handlebars in specific. So if you guys are familiar with this design, it actually was a design they used on the Cervelos, and this is called the Cervelo S5 Aero Carbon Handlebars. Now, the one thing that I found very interesting is that I had a Cervelo at the time, so I bought these about 3 years ago, and I really wanted it to match, but you can see on screen right now, the price for these bars are $372 USD, so quite expensive. And I thought, hey, you know what? I could probably find a decently priced bar that basically it looks the same, if not is the same, even though that's not the case. But I thought I could find it on AliExpress, so I went on AliExpress and found it. Now, I think I paid around 40 USD for these handlebars, so pretty good value, and these are carbon as well. So I thought, you know, I rather, instead of spending almost 400 USD, I'd rather spend 40 USD and basically get the same thing. But if you know anything about Chinese products, that's usually unlikely, especially at this price point, and I'll give you guys my background knowledge on the topic. Now, some of you guys watching might know that the majority of bike parts, especially from reputable brands, come from Asia, China, Taiwan, etc. But that also applies to the bike parts that you can get for very, very cheap. Now, the one thing that should be always noted is the quality of these bike parts. Now, from my research, I learned that there's kind of 3 types of factories. So you have tier 1 factories, tier 2 factories, and tier 3 factories. Now, the tier 3 factories are the ones you really got to be worried about, because they're usually making counterfeits of the legit stuff that are being made out of tier 1 factories, and tier 2 factories are decent. But then again, I don't have that much experience with all these different tiers of factories, but that's just my background knowledge, knowing that quality, you know, depending on where these parts are coming from, can vary substantially. And that's why you'll hear a lot of horror stories from people that buy Chinese parts from AliExpress or eBay, because a lot of these times, you know, they're not passing quality control, they're coming from tier 3 factories, and that's just a disaster waiting to happen. But at the time, you know, back in 2017, when I actually bought these handlebars, I was willing to take a risk because I had a very good experience with the carbon rims that I got for my bike. So I ended up ordering these, and my whole thought process at the time was the aluminum bars that you usually have, you know, they're cheap. You know, if you crash them, they're pretty robust. They're not going to break if you crash them. And, you know, they pretty much do hold up a good road vibration, especially if you have some good bar tape. Aluminum handlebars are perfectly fine. Now, later on in the video, I'll show the weight, but the aluminum bars usually are anywhere between 80 USD to 90 USD for a decent set. And that's usually going to be somewhere around 300 grams, give or take. So nothing super, super light, but then again, I wouldn't say that's super, super heavy. It's just the standard that you usually ride with. Aluminum bars is pretty normal. But when I actually got these bars, the whole thing was that there was a reason why I wanted to get carbon bars, especially these in specific, and that's because of the aerodynamic benefit. So I was really aero focused back then, and I just have some notes that, you know, carbon fiber in theory should be lighter than aluminum. Obviously, it's a different material, which is lighter. And then one thing that should be noted with carbon, I'm not a carbon expert, but this is unidirectional carbon, so I think bikes are made like that, where cheaper carbon that you sometimes see in cars is layered differently, so it's very brittle, but this one is very good and can actually take stress very, very good in different directions. So right now I'm just reiterating the pros. So carbon is lighter. The other thing is that you'll have better hand positioning because there's more options, where on a traditional bar, aluminum bar, you don't have flatness, so you can't really rest your hand. So this bar in theory should be more comfortable. And then it's aero, so if you see, it's very aerodynamic looking. So that's a benefit that I thought I would get if I purchased this bar, and it should absorb vibrations a little bit better because of the material, because it is carbon fiber. So those are the pros that I thought going into buying this handlebar that I was gonna get. Now, I'm not gonna tell you guys about the weight just yet, but I'll tell you guys about the cons now that I absolutely hated with these bars. So the first thing is, it is a hassle to set up. Now, I don't know how well you guys can see it, but you can see these are the grooves for the wiring, and you can see here too, there's 2 cable indents where you can put the cables. It was really just a hassle to set this bar up. It was really annoying, so I really don't rate it. I like easy stuff that is very easy if you ever want to change things. I don't really care that much about cable integration, and just for the effort, it took so long And even there was these inserts that you had to use in this bar that would help you thread the cable, and it was just a headache. It was a nightmare. Now the next con was, even though it's Aero, I forgot it wasn't going to be substantially lighter, because if you know anything about Aero products, it usually has more material to make it more aerodynamic. So that's one thing that when I got the bar, I wasn't really impressed because it was still pretty heavy. Now this next point that I'm going to make is what really made me want to make this video, is that I just want to warn people that it's super sketchy. Now, I'm not trying to say that there's not certain Chinese companies that do make reputable products, because yes, they do exist. And on top of that, reputable products are being made in China as well. So it's not to say that Chinese manufacturing is the problem. It's just where you're getting it and the factory it's being made is the problem. If you're not aware of that, you're taking a big chance, and you don't want to take a chance with your safety, which can result in, something catastrophic happening and it endangering you in a negative way. So, that's just one thing that super sketched me out, is because there's no QC sticker that I see here. There's no official website that says they've done strength tests and actual, quality control. So it's just, you're taking a big risk. And this is something that, if you're descending 60 kilometers downhill, or you're going into a sprint, you don't really want to risk this snapping on you and you hitting the deck. Like, it's just not worth it. That part is one thing I want everyone to know, is that yes, you look at the prices, you see, okay, the Cervelo S5 Aero handlebar is going for $372 USD, and I can get basically the same thing without any of the logos for, $40 USD, which is like a fraction of the price. But it's like, do you want to take a risk with your life? That's one thing I really want to highlight with this. So now I'll tell you guys what I did and basically my overall experience. So I put this on my road bike at the time. This was back in like 2018. So I'll have some videos of me riding it on the trainer. I ended up riding it outside, but this is where I kind of got sketched out. So I torqued this properly and had it all set up for the road, and I did some training rides on the road, but there was just something always holding me back, and that's just because I was super sketched out. And you'll see lots of videos of people like testing it like this, and like making sure like it's really strong, and like they'll put like weights on it, and it's like, yeah, it'll stand up. But there's just one thing that I know, is that like riding is totally different when you have like your full-on body weight over a long period of time, over 100 kilometers, over bumps. And one thing people always forget is, even though it might stay pretty rigid while you test it, there's stress cracks that can, result in over time of usage. So, you might do this and think it's all good. Okay, I'll put it on my bike, and then you'll wrap it with, bar tape, and then there'll be a crack that starts growing, starts happening over time that you don't even see until it's sometimes too late and you just hit the deck because you put your weight on it and it actually gives out and fails. So that's one thing that basically I was gonna race on this, and I was like, last minute I was like, I do not feel safe on this, and it looked really nice. The other thing that pissed me off was I would have to get like a special out front mount for this type of bar design, which kind of annoyed me. So that's another reason why I'm kind of happy I didn't even bother. But yeah, I basically just rode this on the trainer and then did some training rides outside, and then it just sketched me out too much. And then I basically put this away, and I found it, and I was like, wow, like I haven't seen this for a long time, might as well make a video. Now this is the part where everyone wants to see the weight. If we're actually weighing this right now, the aluminum bars I had, which are a pretty good quality aluminum bars, they're not super cheap, those were 302 grams. As I said, that's usually the normal that you would expect in an aluminum bar. And these bars in specifically, because they are aerodynamic and have more material, they actually weigh 301 grams. So 1 gram difference. And I just find that very funny, because usually with upgrades you actually want to have something lighter, just because having a lighter bike is going to accelerate better. But also on top of that, because it is aerodynamic, you would expect aerodynamic benefits, especially in terms of the front end, having the wind flow around you nicer. It's going to make you faster with less effort. Well, that's the theory. Obviously that's very hard to prove, because that has to be ensured by you maintaining the same aerodynamic position, which a lot of people don't even train, because you have to have a strong core. So just all in all, I'll give you guys my total overall thoughts. I think in terms of Chinese products, especially ones that are just like too good to be true in terms of 40 USD or all the way to 100 USD, I'd honestly say stay away from it, even though it looks super nice, super good, cheap, and as if it's like you're getting the same product just for a fraction of the price. To some degree, if it's too good to be true, it probably is. And when you're on these sites such as AliExpress or eBay, and you actually go to the storefront, like they're not showing multiple stress tests until failure, until how much effort actually takes to break these bars, like reputable companies do. And that's just to be remembered, that usually the reason why the price is so cheap is because these parts are not coming from tier 1 factories. These are coming from like tier 2 if you're lucky, but most time tier 3s, and you'll see lots of examples of carbon bars cracking. So I think it's cool. You know, it was a cool thing to try out. Obviously, I think it's good because I can share this experience now, but I would honestly say if you're really focused on some, you know, gram savings or even aerodynamics, you know, I would say the easiest thing is just working on yourself, working on your fitness if you want to reduce the weight. And then in terms of aerodynamics, if you practice working on your core and holding a more aerodynamic position on the bike, you'll yield a better performance than just doing an upgrade like this. And I think it's very easy for a lot of cyclists right when they start getting into the sport to get really sucked into thinking they need all these like super flashy products, and then that's where you go down the rabbit hole on AliExpress or eBay or online. And I would just say stay away from that altogether. Just keep it very basic, and over time, if you really need it and you get to that top tier racing level, or you really want to make that upgrade, hopefully you'll save up if you want a really nice carbon bars and you'll actually make a proper investment. Now, that's not to say you can't get a set of Chinese carbon bars from a Chinese manufacturer that has a good reputation. It's just to say that, you know, if you want to do that, then, you know, it's going to cost more money because they do, you know, for reputation, you're paying for that ease of mind saying, you know, they've done the testing, everything checks out, this is not sketchy, and you'll still be saving a lot of money compared to the big brands that are still being made in China, but then again, they have a way bigger reputation than these new Chinese manufacturers that do have a good reputation and do quality control. So ending thoughts is that in terms of saving money, especially with bars or any other Chinese products or products in general in terms of cycling, you have the big box brands, which are the common brands that everyone knows, and they usually charge a premium because you're buying for that ease of mind of, yeah, it's a legit brand, they've done the testing, it's safe to ride, even though there are failures that happen on those brands, but that's like the biggest category. Then Chinese manufacturers that are building reputation, that are saying we do the quality control, we do all the testing, it's safe to ride, and it will give you a discount because we're not these big brands. So then you have that middle group. And then the third group is this. You're paying basically, you don't even know who you're buying it from, you don't know what company you're buying it from, you're hoping that's safe, there's no quality control testing, there's no ease of mind, there's no warranty, there's no support email. So it's just like, basically, you're testing, you're the guinea pig. And at the end of the day, I don't want to be a guinea pig riding, you know, 60, 70 kilometers downhill and this has a failure. So that about wraps it up. I think in terms of carbon bars from China, I would say stay away from it. Then again, you know, if it's too good to be true for USD, it probably is. And that's not to say that, you know, people have bars like this and they end up lasting for 2 to 3 years and never having a failure. I just think if, you know, if you don't feel safe on it, which was what I felt, and I wasn't willing to take a risk just because they look cool or they have aero gains, even though I could have got even a lighter, different handlebar set, like those benefits don't actually outweigh the fact that I wouldn't feel safe on it and I would just feel sketched out and continuously looking at it to see if there's cracks. I'd rather just have aluminum bar, work on my fitness, work on my position, and then in the not so distant future, then make a big upgrade to a really nice bar set that I like. But until that day comes, I'll obviously keep you guys up to date. So like this video, subscribe. If you want me to make more videos regarding Chinese products that I have experience with, I'm more than welcome to make it. And until the next one, keep on pedaling.